of course, your response is going to be well understood, and I'm going to be able to offer you the fineness of all my feedbacks, okay? Fantastic. So give me a second. Great, we are live. So let me share my screen with you. We're ready to start with tonight's class. Here we are. Awesome. So as I told you yesterday, we are going to practice in tonight's class. That is going to be our only and solely activity for tonight's class, okay? So let us start with it. Let me please share my screen. There you are, you can see it. Well, so let's jump directly to the questions, okay? So I wanted to here clarify something very rapidly. The way this works on the exam year, students, is that you have the opportunity, as I told you, to have your microphone and your headphones on, right? As we have discussed before. So when you have your microphone and your headphones on, you're going to listen to a voice in your headphones that is going to read not only the question you have on your screen, but it's also going to read the instructions or the section, everything. Basically, the voice in your headphones is going to read everything on your screen, okay? So when you have this particular thing happening and going on, many people, for example, think that when the voice is reading the question, they have to wait until the voice finalizes reading the question so that they can start preparing their response. Because when the voice finishes reading the question, the voice tells you, okay, now that we have read the question, please start preparing your response after the beep. And there is a beep sound, right? Like beep, and then you start preparing your response because the 15 seconds start. But now you are not actually required, dear students, to wait until that time in order for you to start preparing your response. You can actually, if you're able to, read faster than the voice. And if you read faster than the voice and you get the topic, you can start preparing your response from that same second. In this case, I'm going to be, of course, fulfilling the role of this voice, right? Because I'm going to be reading these questions aloud so that you can, of course, comprehend. Now, if you read faster than me, please feel free to start your preparation for the response, even if I don't tell you to do so. Okay, so as I say, it's all a matter of always trying to find those seconds that we can save for ourselves. And you're going to trust me that those seconds are going to be way valuable to you because it's a very short time for preparation, okay? So as I say, if you manage to read faster than the voice, in this case, my voice, please, you can start preparing your response, even if I don't start the chronometer, okay? Fantastic. So let's go with the first question. I'm going to paste it in the chat box before I read it aloud for you. And here, let me correct this little mistake. Okay, there you are. It says the following. People should no longer be allowed to own pets like dogs and cars. Do you think that this is a good idea? Give reasons and details to support your argument. That's the first question, okay? So now, please, dear students, it's time for you to prepare your response. So all of you, please start doing so now. Very good. There you are. Okay, dear students. So it's time for us to start with the responses, okay? So in this case, please, dear, well, I'm going to choose somebody aleatorily because I am seeing people here on my screen. Please, dear Alexander, you're going to be delighting us with your response as the first one, okay? So please turn your microphone and you can start responding to the question now.
I think that that's a good idea to pass that proposition because also cards and those are necessary to be owned to someone to have the responsibility of that in the case of those of feeding or keeping that animals. I don't know if I'm correct, but say carts. So referring to a vehicle, I don't know, but also in case of accidents and something like that, like fall the diesel, it's necessary to have an owner.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, dear Alexander. Very good. Very good, fantastic. So let's continue with our dear Lucia. Please, dear Lucia, you're going to be the next one, all right? So please, you can start responding to this question now.
Okay. I disagree with this statement because I think that people should allow to own pets like dogs and cats because humans could bring better lives to that pet. For instance, I have a friend who love animals and she adopted 5 pets and that pets have a better life. So for that reasons I think that people should be allowed to own pets.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much, dear Lucia. Fantastic. Let's continue with Juan. Please, dear Juan Pablo, you're going to follow. You can start, please, responding to this question now.
I am disagree with this topic because I think the pets help to the people, and I have in my life 3 pets, and now only have one. So we need love the pets, and I think are a good friends to calm your mind and calm your peaceful and help us to be friend with the other humans and other animals.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much, dear Juan. There you are. And let's go with our dear Paula. Please, dear Paula, you're going to be following. Please start delivering your response for this question now.
With regard to the topic, I believe people should be allowed to own pets like dogs and cats because I believe this way because of the following reasons. First of all, pets give you company. To illustrate this, I have a dog who through my rough times, he was always with me and I felt supported. And secondly, they give you energy and cheer you up. Exemplifying, my friend felt really bad when her sister passed away, but she felt supported by the company of her cat.
Very good. Thank you very much, dear Paula. Fantastic. And finally, we have our dear Chris Bell. So please, Chris Bell, you can start responding to the question now.
Okay, teacher. With regarding about the topic, people should be allowed to own pets because they are part of our lives. And as an example, I am my friend bought a cat, and now it is loyal with him, and this cat always help him to do many things in their daily routines.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris Bell. Fantastic. Okay, let's start with the feedback, okay, for all of you. Let me start. Let me give you a general recommendation to all of you, okay? When you're expressing the sentence of agreement or disagreement with a particular statement, the way you say it is, I disagree or I disagree. You don't have to say, I am disagreeing or I am not disagreeing, because the expression agreeing or disagreeing doesn't go with the verb to be. Okay, so in order to say that you agree, it's merely like that, like I agree with this because of that reason, or I disagree. But it is not necessary to say I am not agreeing or I agree or I am agreeing. As I said, it's I agree or I disagree. That's the idea, right? But it is not necessary to include the verb to be in this expression. But don't worry, it's a very general confusion. All right, very good. So now let us start with individual feedback. So for our dear Alexander, for example, here Alexander said very interesting argument. He said, well, first of all, animals, in this case, well, should be allowed to people because they would be, or that would be preventing animals and pets from suffering hunger. In the case, of course, somebody wouldn't be able to take care of them. Very good and intelligent arguments. Now here, for example, of course, it would have been great if you mentioned an illustration, something like my own dog. I adopted her from an adoption house, and I prevented her from suffering abuses and hunger in that place, right? Something like that could have been great. Now, my second thing would be, let us always try to avoid the Alexander expressions like I'm not sure, like I'm not sure of this, or not sure if I'm saying this correctly. If you are somehow doubting about a particular term or terminology, it's better for you to venture yourself to say it, of course, hoping it's fine, or of course, avoiding expressions that we are not totally aware of, or if we are not totally secure and confident that the expressions are actually right, okay? But anyways, it was a fantastic response, as I say, very clear and very clever arguments, okay? Fantastic. So let's go with Lucia. Lucia as well here offered a very interesting argument. She said that it is very good to have animals because you can give them a better life. She said that, well, she has a friend who has adopted 5 different pets. Very interesting illustration. And as you can notice, for example, here, Lucia, this is exactly what I mean when I say always offer very personal and specific illustrations, as you did in this case, because you were saying you can help these animals to have a better life. Fantastic. And how are you exemplifying that? By saying, well, I have a friend who adopted 5 different animals and now they are having a fantastic time with her. Excellent. That's the idea. Okay. Now, the only thing with you would be trying to include a second argument and a second illustration. And you can do so by, as I say, maybe speaking a little bit faster in your responses and trying to measure the time as we practice. Okay. Very good. Anyways. What about, for example, Juan Pablo? Juan Pablo here mentioned very interesting arguments. They said these animals can help people to go through different crises. And secondly, they can calm your mind and make you more friendly towards your environment. Fantastic. These are very good arguments, okay? Now, the thing here, as I perceive them, is that you have not included an illustration for both of these premises. And I think that is the only thing that is missing in your response here, Juan. That, for example, in this case, when you said animals or pets calm you and they make you more friendly towards your environment, you could have given an example, something like my cousin, who was very, very much insecure of himself and barely talked to somebody. When he got his first pet, started to be more social and friendly with his friends at high school, right? Something like that will have been incredible. And as I always say, you can make this up. You can make these illustrations up. It is not necessary for you to always say something that is true. You can actually use them in your own convenience, okay? As I say, very good, Juan. Paula, as well here, she said, and she shared 2 very interesting arguments. She said, first of all, they give you company when you are going to very rough times. Fantastic. And well, in this case, she gave her own example. She said, when I was going through very difficult times in my life, it was my pet that helped me to go through that and to, of course, tolerate that suffering. Fantastic. You are sharing about yourself and you're being very specific, right? Very good. And also here, for example, they said they can help you to cheer up at some point when you have lost your happiness and your joy. Well, and here she offered a fantastic illustration. She said, I have a friend who sadly suffered the loss of one of her beloved beings some time ago. And it was because her cat was there to accompany that suffering that she was able to go through that and, of course, to cheer up a little bit in the future. Fantastic. That is exactly what I mean when I say personal and specific illustration. Okay, very good, dear Paula. And finally, we have Crisbel. So Crisbel here as well mentioned that animals are very good because they can become friends to you and they can be serving for multiple purposes. And she tried to, of course, here made the illustration of her friend that have, well, excuse me, in this case, her friend has a cat, and this cat has been accompanying him and, of course, helping him with certain issues. Fantastic. That's the idea. A very personal illustration. Let us always try to include 2 arguments nonetheless so that we can make our response even more complete. But apart from that, I think that the complexity of the argument has been very well thought, and it's a very interesting and planned response. So I think that this is a wonderful example, dear students, of for all of you. You have been demonstrating a fantastic level. Let's continue. We have more practices. Let's go. Next question. Okay, here we have it. So let's go with this one. I think it's more interesting. it says the following. Do you think that it is a good idea to talk to an academic advisor before choosing your major? Support your points with specific examples and details. There you are. Okay. So please, all of you, dear students, you can start preparing your responses for this question now. Great. Okay, so please, dear Lucia, you're going to delight us with your response as the first one. So please, you can start delivering it now.
I agree with the statement because I think that academic advisors should explain with more details about all the cafes. I have a friend who doesn't receive an academic advisor and she decided to study architecture, and in the second year of their career she decided to change. And the other reason is that an academic advisor will you explain in a better way about what contains the cafe.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much, dear Lucia. Fantastic. Let's continue with our dear Juan. Please, you're going to go next. You can start, please, delivering your response for this question now.
I am totally agree with this topic because in my case, I prefer study corporate communication, but in the time I don't consult this with an assessor, so I will change to medicine. I try to be a good doctor, but in my case, I take a mistake. So if someone ask me, it is better. I think yes, it's better.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, dear Juan. Very good. Fantastic. Let's move on. Let's start with our dear Paula. Please, Paula, you're going to be the next one. You're going to start responding to the question now.
With regard to the topic, I believe it is a good idea to talk to an academic advisor before choosing a major. I believe this way because of the following reasons. First of all, they guide you when you are confused. To illustrate, my boyfriend had this problem and he went to this advisor and he helped him find his career. And secondly, they make you see your abilities and capabilities. Exemplifying, I didn't know I had some qualities in artistics, and the council helped me.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Paula. Very good. Let's continue with our dear Crisbel. Please, dear Crisbel. You can start responding to this question now.
With regarding about the topic of about the again, teacher, please.
Yeah, of course, why not? Okay, you can start now.
I agree with this statement because you don't know if you are sure to choose which some careers. And for example, my brother asked to the advisor about which career he could study, and this person gave him 3 options, and one of them my brother chose it. About the second reason is that you couldn't know about the skills, you didn't know, and you are not sure about it. And for example, I didn't know that I have the ability to talk to each other, so I studied law.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for Crispel. Fantastic. Let's continue with our dear Alexander, please. You can start responding now.
I agree with the statement. So I think that 18, sometimes we need more perspective about the career. Sometimes it's like a fight in the head and heart. So it's necessary to find aptitudes to try to select the best option and also to try the options that we have. So I went to academic assessor when I have 18. So he told me that for me, an engineering or science career is gonna be good for me. So yeah, I study engineering, and I think that maybe it was the correct decision.
Okay. Thank you very much, dear Alexander. Very good. There you are. Great. And I saw that somebody else just got into. I think it was Angel. Okay, dear Angel, you're going to accompany us since next round. Okay. Thank you very much. Well, let's start with our feedback then. So let's go with Alexander. Well, Alexander here, for example, said, yeah, you should definitely go to an advisor because it could give you more perspective about the abilities you are going to have, and of course the possibilities that brings to your future. And he gave his own example. He said that when he was 18, he had the opportunity to talk to an advisor, and he recommended him to study science or engineering, and that was what he ended up doing in this case. Fantastic, very good, dear Alexander. I think that it is exactly what I mean, personal and specific. Maybe the only thing would be, of course, to include a second argument, right, and a second illustration, because we're trying to go for high scores. And high scores, people who get high scores in this part of the exam always have the shared characteristic that they offer responses that have more than one argument. Okay, so let us always go for those two arguments instead of one. Okay, but very good. Let us continue with Lucia. So Lucia, for example, here offered a very good response as well. She talks about, for example, how yes, you should go because advisors have more details with regard to careers. And she talked about her friend, how her friend wanted to study architecture, and of course, well, having this visit and this opportunity with the advisor illuminated her mind with regard to this career. Very good. And then she also talked about, for example, that that in this case they can certainly help you with regard to understanding more careers and to knowing more careers that are available to you. Fantastic. As I say, maybe here the illustration was missing, but anyways, it's a very good response, especially in the illustrations you gave of your friends having this experience with the advisor when planning to study as architecture was fantastic. I think that it was very good. Okay, let's continue with Juan Pablo. Juan Pablo say here, for example, that, yeah, you should go because, well, in this case, what Juan Pablo did was he offered an illustration of himself. He said that at first he wanted to study something else, but he just changed to medicine, and he's actually hoping to be a good doctor in the future. Now, in this case, Juan Pablo, for example, offered an illustration mostly for the entire response. And well, I mean, this is, of course, another approach to the section. I'm not saying it's, of course, something erroneous. It's totally fine. You're totally free to offer this new approach. But nonetheless, of course, it would be great if you try to use the structure, right? Like one argument, then another illustration, then comes a second argument and an illustration for that second argument, right? But anyways, the response as you expressed it here was very solid and congruent with regard to the question and the information you presented. Very, very much striking, and I would say very interesting. Very good, Juan Pablo. Okay, let's continue with Paula. She offered two arguments. First of all, advisors can help you to go through confusion. That's very normal at this young epochs in your life. And she talked about her boyfriend, how her boyfriend visited one of these advisors, and he is now having more realizations and, of course, let's say brightness with regard to careers and stuff like that. Fantastic, very good argument and illustration, very personal and specific. And she also talked about capabilities that she actually found out she had with an advisor. And here she was very specific. She talked about her artistic abilities that she was not aware of before. Very good, dear Paula. Fantastic response. Don't have any commentary. Crisbel as well. Here she said that you are never sure about what things you are going to be studying in the future. Therefore, it is not something erroneous, or it is not something too burdensome to go and visit an advisor because of all the helpful insights they can give you. Very good. Well, in this case, for example, she said that they can also help you to reveal skills you were not aware you had. In this case, she talked about how she discovered through the guidance and help of an advisor how she was able to talk to people and to relate to people, and that's the reason why she decided to be a lawyer. Fantastic. That's exactly what I mean. Very good, dear Crisbel. And finally, Alexander. Oh no, I started with Alexander, right? So yeah, so fantastic. I think that it was a very good round, dear students. Let us continue. And now Angel is also going to be able to accompany us in this new round. Okay, so let's go with the next question. Here you have it. It says the following. Let me here copy it and I paste it. So it says the following. Do you think that that it is a good idea to save about 5% of your salary each month? Give reasons and details to support your argument. Fantastic. There you are. So please, all of you, dear students, you can start preparing your responses for this question now. Well, actually, press this one, right? So your 15 seconds are over. Well, fantastic. So it's time for you to respond, okay? So in this case, Paula, you're going to delight us with your response as the first participant. So please, you can turn on your microphone and you can start responding to the question. Dear Paula, now.
With regard to the topic, I believe it is a good idea to save about 5% of the salary each month. I believe this way because of the following reasons. First of all, sometimes people have accidents that are unexpected, and this money can help you with these kind of things. For example, my aunt had an accident, but she wasn't saving any money, so she needed to lend money from the bank. Secondly, you can save this money and buy something that's big or useful. For example, my mom saved the money for a house she bought later on.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Paula. Let's continue with our dear Juan Pablo. Please, you're going to be the next one. So you can start responding to the question, dear Juan, now.
I think this 5% help to prevent any accident, or invest if you want to prepare in the future. This 5% is only to the future. I think it's better use the 10% because 5% is not enough. So I try to invest in other thing. It's better to wash the money, and this money can help you if you want to buy something or you have an accident.
Okay. Thank you very much, dear Juan. Fantastic. Let's continue. So please, here, Lucia, you're going to help us. Please start responding to the question now.
I agree that it's a good idea to save at least 5% of your salary because for two different reasons. Because savings for an emergency for the future, and for pleasures if you want to go to a concert or to travel. I have a friend who has doing that for at least 5 years. So she now have a good savings, and she wants she don't have that economic. I know he can.
No, that's okay. Thank you very much, dear Lucia. Fantastic. Please, here, Alexander, you're going to follow. Please delight us with your response starting now.
I agree with the statement. So in so much of countries, there is difficult to find an stability in the work. So as me, I can find also until today, but with saving money could help us to stay with when I fired untimely. Also in contingents like accident or illness, my mom once have to need an urgent surgeon. So with the money that she saved, he can pay the surgeon.
Very good. Thank you very much, dear Alexander. Fantastic. Dear Crisbel, you're going to follow up. You can please start responding to the question now.
With regarding the topic, I agree that it's a good idea to save money each month because of the following reasons. Firstly, it helps to buy some things that you want. And for example, my boyfriend bought his own car with this money that he saved. And secondly, if you have a disease, it helps. It helps a lot. For example, my friend had the worst illness, so he had to pay for all the services in the hospital with the money that he saved.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Crisbel. And let us finalize with our dear Angel. Please, dear Angel, you can start responding now.
With respect to the topic about saving your 5% of your incomes monthly, I agree with it, with the sentence, because you could buy in personal, you could buy some things for you. For example, the last year I achieved to buy a visit for do cycling with some sales that I do. Another example is my father. My father, 2 years ago, my father achieved to light the Christmas tree with the 5% of the incomes. And I think it's a good idea to save money. That is the reason why I agree with the sentence.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Angel. Fantastic. There you are. So let us start with the feedback. So here, for example, Angel mentioned a very interesting thing. He said you should save because you can buy things for yourself. He talked about his own experience buying something that he really wanted to buy, and given that he saved money for some years, he was able to afford. And he also mentioned the example of his father. Very good, dear Angel. Of course, we can always try to offer a second argument, right? Let us just say one argument, one illustration for that argument, a second argument, and an illustration for the second argument, instead of one argument and two illustrations. But anyways, the illustrations you offer were very, very much successful and very much compelling. Very good, dear Angel. Crisbel, for example, here, she said that, yeah, you should save money, certainly, because, well, in order to purchase some things you may want in the future. For example, she talked about her boyfriend who recently bought a car through some years of having saved money in order for him to, of course, afford this car. Very good, dear Crisbel. And she also talked about that it could help you, or it could be helpful for some diseases. And she said in this case, for example, that she had a friend who was going through a very difficult illness, and he needed to pay some particular costs in the hospital, and that was possible because of his savings. Very good, dear Crisbel. You offer a fantastic response here. Fantastic. Alexander as well, for example, he mentioned two different arguments. She talked about, for example, work stability. And of course, given that work stability is not very much constant in South America or Central America, he says it's always fine to have very good money. Very good argument and fantastic illustration of yourself that you have given. And well, secondly, he talked about contingencies. It's a very good word, an advanced word, by the way. Very good that you have used it, dear Alexander. Contingencies, right? Things that are not necessarily going to happen, but could happen. Very good. He talked about, for example, her mother having a surgery and how it was necessary to have saved for that particular surgery. Fantastic. Very good, dear Alexander. Very good response. Then Lucia, for example, we have it here. She talked about two different things. She talked about, first of all, emergencies and pleasures, right? Those were her two arguments for this particular response. And she said, well, in this case, emergencies in order to, of course, help some possible illness or accidents in the future, and pleasures, things that she wanted to buy. Offered two interesting illustrations. Fantastic, dear Paula. It was, excuse me, dear Lucia. This was Lucia's response. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure why I said Paula. This was Lucia's response. It was a very good response, dear Lucia. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. And Juan here, for example, mentioned two different arguments. In this case, she was talking about, or excuse me, he was talking about, for example, accidents that you could have in the future. And he said that because of your savings, you can actually go through these accidents without having suffered too much. Fantastic. And he also talked about investments, right? In this case, maybe, of course, complementing those arguments with some illustrations would have been great. But anyways, fantastic arguments. Very good, dear Juan. And here we have finally Paula, who mentioned in this case, for example, that accidents can be prevented through savings. And of course, she talked about her aunt who didn't have money because she didn't save and she had to ask for a loan. And secondly, she talked about, well, buying something useful as her mother did with buying her dream house. Fantastic. There you are. So I think that you're improving very much. That was a very good round. And let us continue with another one. Okay. Here you have it. It's a very interesting topic. Okay, let us start. Let's go. It says the following, dear students. Do you think that it is a good idea to date someone who speaks a different language than you do? Support your points with specific examples and details. There you are. Okay, I'm gonna paste this. Okay, so please, dear students, you can start preparing your response for this question now. Very good. All right. So it's time for you to start with your responses, dear students. And in this case, our dear Crisbel is going to start with this round. So please, dear Crisbel, you can start responding to this question now.
With regarding with the topic about the to date someone who speaks a different language, I agree with this position because of the following reason. Firstly, we improve another language that we don't know. For example, I met someone who was from United States, and this time I didn't know the English language. Secondly, it helped us to know another cultures. For example, my friend knew another person, and he thought her those things.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, let's continue with our dear Angel, please. Dear Angel, you're going to go next. You can please start responding to the question now.
With respect with the dating with a person who knows a new language, I agree with the sentence because for two reasons. He or she, your couple, can teach the new language. For example, my sister have a boyfriend from Italian, and he had learned a lot about pizza. And another example, another reason why I agree with the sentence is generally people who know new language have a new culture or are more abroad to new cultures. And I know a friend who had a boyfriend who, and my friend is now is open to new cultures.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Angel. Very good. Let's move on with Paula, please. Dear Paula, you can start responding to the question now.
With regard to the topic, I believe it is a good idea to date someone who speaks a different language. I believe this way because of the following reasons. First of all, you're able to practice the language. To illustrate this, my sister had a friend from the United States, and she improved her English a lot by talking to her friend for a year. And secondly, when you know another person who speaks a different language, you also get to know their cultures. And this way you have a better understanding of the world. Exemplifying, I had a friend from Italy, and I know I got to know a lot of his culture.
Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Paula. Dear Juan, please, you're going to continue with this round. Okay, so you can start, please, responding to this question now.
I am totally agree with this statement because my best friend are Italian and he learned many about other topics. He study law, so he wants to I learn English and Italian, but he said me first is English because it's more easily, and he speak in Italian and I felt amazed. So I think it's a good choice to learn a new language.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Juan. Very good. Let's continue with Lucia. Please, dear Lucia, you're going to go next. You can start responding to the question now.
I think it's a good idea to date someone who speaks a different language for two different reasons. First, that you could learn another language, and second, that you learn about other cultures. At the beginning, it could be difficult, but then it will be beneficial for yourself. I have a friend who met a boy who only speaks Portuguese because he is from Brazil, and they get in love. So she has to learn speak Portuguese, and he had to learn speak Spanish. But at the final, it was fine.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Lucia. And now it's time for Alexander to respond. So please, dear Alexander, you can take your turn starting now.
I agree with the statement. If there is attraction between two people, could be an opportunity. In this case, could be an opportunity to learn a new language, also a new culture. At the start could be challenging, but I think that's a way to grow in a personal way. As an example, a cousin of a cousin was married with an American girl. They date with her when he knows in a beach party, so he fell in love with her. The start was challenging, but he fell in love. So when he married, also this opened the doors for him. He went to America and also find better opportunities in his job.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Alexander. Very good. Well, so in this case, Alexander, for example, talked about, a cousin of a cousin, very interesting expression, that married an American person. And well, he was very specific in this case. He said they met in a beach party and they fell in love. Well, very interesting. It's a very interesting illustration and very personal and very specific. So as I say, fantastic, dear Alexander, that's the idea. And the argument was there in order to, of course, have better opportunities, better jobs, and also, of course, to learn another language. Very good, dear Alexander. Then we have Lucia, for example, said in this case that is good because of two reasons. First, you are going to learn a new language. Secondly, you're going to be having open doors to new cultures. In this case, for example, she talked about her friend who has a boyfriend who is from Brazil, and she has been learning Portuguese, and this person has been learning Spanish because of this relationship. Very interesting, fantastic, Lucia, very good. Juan, for example, talked about, in this case, he has a best friend who is from Italia, excuse me, from Italy, from Italian, sorry, Spanish, who is from Italy, and well, he has told him that learning English has always been a very, very profound interest for him, and now they are interchanging some information with regard to idioms and languages. Fantastic, very good, dear Juan. Very interesting response. Then we have, for example, here we have Paula, for example, offer two arguments as well, idioms and also well, in this case, she has a friend from the US who has been, of course, well, who has been connecting with this language through that experience. And she also talked about, for example, well, some sort of experience he had with somebody who is from Italy. Very interesting. Many people have said to me throughout this day that they have friends from the US and from Italy. I'm not sure if it's just coincidence, but I've been listening to those countries very much throughout this day. I guess it's because, I don't know, they immigrate very much. Who knows, right? But very interesting. US and Italy. Very good, dear Paula. Fantastic. What about, for example, Angel? Angel said, first of all, yes, it can teach you new languages. As for example, here again, he talked on Italian, how his sister has a boyfriend who is from Italy, and she has learned a lot about pizza. Whoa, very interesting and very specific thing that you have said there, that she has improved her abilities, maybe preparing pizza. Fantastic, very good. And he also talked about new cultures and how a friend of him has become very much open-minded through having connections with foreign people. Very good, dear Angel, fantastic arguments and illustration. And finally, we have our Chris Bell, who has said that, well, you can, yes, and you should definitely date somebody who speaks a different language because it can help you to improve language. And she talked about her experience with a friend who is from the US and help her to improve her English. And she also talked about new cultures and how that can help you to, of course, open your mind and be more, less hesitant in this case to open the doors of your being to new people and new experiences. Very good, dear Chris Bell, as well. Fantastic, dear students. I think that it was a very good round, this one, the best one you have had. Well, let's go with our last one. And let us see what you can say with regard to this. Okay, here we have it. It says the following. Everyone should be required to learn a second language. In your opinion, is this a good idea? Why or why not? Okay, so please all of you can start preparing your responses now. There you are. So it's time for you to respond, dear students. So in this case, please, dear Alexander, you're going to start, and you can start responding to this question now. Shall we start again, dear Alexander? Okay. By the way, you have your mic off.
Yes. I don't hear.
Yes, I can.
Hear me? Yeah.
Don't worry. So please, you can start responding now.
I agree with the statement. So a few days ago, I read an article that says that learn a second language can improve the mental process of your mind, and also it's a way to open doors to a new culture, and also a new experience, and also find new people. As an example, when I learn English, I can communicate with people from Korea in my work, and also from France, because they speak English. So it's a way to that I know those cultures. That's all.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Alexander. Very good. Let's continue with our dear Lucia. Please, Lucia, you're going to move on with the next response. You can start responding now.
I agree that everyone should learn a second language for two different reasons. First, it will benefit in your work, and second, when you travel. 2 months ago, I lost a job opportunity because my English wasn't fluently, and I think that learn another English will benefit in your future more than you think. So for that reason, I think that everyone should learn a second language.
Great. Thank you very much, dear Lucia. Very good. Let's go with our dear Juan. Please, dear Juan, you're going to move on with the next question. You can start responding now.
So I am disagree because I think it's not necessarily because a Chinese can be live in China and be a good doctor or architect. Because if you don't need or if you don't want, always we have the technology and take a traductor. So this technology help us to understand other person and know the culture or all you want.
Very good. Thank you very much, dear Juan. Fantastic. Let us continue with our dear Paula. Please, you're going to move on with the next question, dear Paula. You can start now.
With regard to the topic, I believe everyone should be required to learn a second language. I believe this way because of the following reasons. First of all, knowing a new language helps you connect with people around the world. To illustrate me by learning English, I was able to have friends from the United States and other parts of the world. Secondly, it opens in other countries. It could be like work doors or study doors, exemplifying. By taking the TOEFL, I would be able to go to another country to study my master's degree.
Fantastic. Very good illustration. Very good. Let's continue with our dear Angel. Please, you can start with your response now.
With regarding with the topic, the requirement of to learn a second language, I agree with the sentence due to the following reason. A country with inhabitants who knows a second language increase its opportunity for increase the wellness and the commerce because people can connect a community with other people and make business. Another reason is when people know a new language, this person will have more opportunities in abroad. For example, a childhood friend and learn Chinese, and she had the opportunity to get a job in China.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Angel. And let us finalize with our dear Chris Bell. You can start your response now.
With regarding to the topic, everybody should be required to learn a second language. I agree with this topic because of the following reasons. Firstly, the more languages you know, the more jobs you could find. Example, my friend learned another language and it helps to find a good job. Secondly, you could travel around the world without any problems because you know how communicate with other people in other countries. Example, my cousin traveled around to Spain, and it helps him a lot because he has already know about this language and he made new friends there.
Okay, thank you very much, dear Chris Bell. Very good. All right, interesting. Well, thank you. Thank you to all of you. I think that what I can say about this response round is that it was fantastic. Okay, I think that you can perceive how much you have improved throughout this night. Your responses are very much confident. All of them are very compelling, very clever arguments you have managed to come up with, and also, of course, fantastic illustrations. Okay, so please feel very proud of yourself tonight. You have done a fantastic job, and we're going to be repeating this tomorrow. Okay, we're going to stop here for tonight, and please, I'm going to take your assistance before you go. All right, and have have a gift for you, of course. This this website, I found it some time ago, and I found that to be super useful because it contains many questions. So if you want to practice in your free time by yourself, of course, serve yourself of this particular material. There you have it. Many questions. It's going to be very important. Okay, so fantastic. Let me please stop here, and please collaborate with your kind responses to the poll. Okay, as I take your assistance, and if you have any question, commentary, please let me know so that I can help you. Okay, let us listen to your names. Very good. So it's here present, or dear Paula Andrea.
Present.
Thank you very much, dear Paula. Fantastic. Okay. What about Andrea Mercedes? Alexander David?
Present.
Thank you very much, dear Alexander. What about Intriago Angel?
Present.
Thank you very much, dear Angel. And now let's go with this one. What about Dayana Duran? Lucia Adriasola?
Present.
Thank you very much, dear Lucia. What about Dania Crisbel?
Present, teacher.
Thank you very much, Dania. And finally, Juan Pablo Duran.
Present, teacher.
Thank you very much, Juan. There you are. Great. So thank you very much for your kind responses, dear students. It was a pleasure to be with you tonight. And well, we're going to be repeating, as I say, this exercise tomorrow. So I am going to be looking forward to see you, and have a wonderful night.
Bye, teacher.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
You.
Hi,
Bye-bye.
teacher.
See you.